Lorraine Centennial here, back to show you the second part of the experimental wax paper series. Now this is what we're going to be doing today. This represents the end result of what we're going to be doing today using both wax paper and wallpaper to make masks. I'm going to show you first of all how to create the mask. I get discontinued wallpaper books, and I look for papers in the book that don't have any texture in them at all. They're completely smooth. Take a piece out, and then you're going to begin to fold it any way that you wish. Doesn't have to be the way I'm folding it. You can fold it as many times or as few times as you would like. And you simply get your scissor and cut into it. And cut into it any way that you would like. It's all up to you. Some people like more organic shapes and others like more geometric, or you can use both. And you can make as many cuts as you would like. I would suggest making the cuts fairly large, because when you do apply the stencil, you don't want this tiny little cutout design. You really like something a little more substantial. So you can see what I'm doing here about how I'm doing this. Now, when we open this, of course, we don't know what we're going to have here, which is part of the enjoyment of the process, is to see what we end up with. And that's what experimental art is really all about. And what makes it so much fun. All right, now this is what we ended up with. All right. Now, we're going to begin the process, the wax paper part of the two-part process, by simply applying paint onto your Plexi. And I would strongly suggest just using only 3 colors that coordinate well, because you are going to be building other marks and designs on top of this paper. So you don't want it to get terribly busy by using a lot of mixed colors. And it's also not a bad idea to start by creating several papers. Make it a day, make it half a day, make it an hour or two. And use the same colors for all your papers that day. These papers also coordinate beautifully with the ribbon papers that we made in part 1, if you make them in similar colors. Putting paint down, no pattern, no rhyme, no reason. There's my 3 colors. And I'm going to call this first paper. I'm breaking it into 3 different types of design or marked papers, papers with particular markings, just to make it a little more clear that you need to vary your marks on these papers. And you can come up with your own marks, but I'm going to give you 3 different ways of handling this. The first I'm going to call plaid, a plaid paper. And it resembles a plaid. And you just use a brayer, and I will be putting the supply list in the drop-down screen eventually, but there's not a lot of things. There really is not a lot to use. All right, so there you are. You just make it more like a plaid design. Take your wax paper. This is a background, so we don't always expect it to be a paper that we might want to use in our artwork, although sometimes it does turn out that way, which of course is really nice. They really are fun papers to make. I enjoy them so much because they are all very different. All right, so you press your paper down into the paint. I would suggest using a little bit heavier paint because you really want the paper to pick up the colors nicely. And if you have spaces, not to worry. Again, it becomes transparent, like when you layer them later. Some of these papers, if you don't cut into them, which I'm going to show you later, at least you'll have some spaces and you can see maybe black through here or red through here eventually. All right, so there's your plaid paper. See that? That's beautiful. I love that. So now your second paper, which will create marks, I am going to add a little bit more paint, although I have a nice amount down here, but I am going to add a little more turquoise. I'm not worried about where I put this. And even a little bit more of the purple, I would say. A little bit more. And I do have blotting papers off to the side, so I am running my brayer onto the blotting paper to get some of this excess paint off so it doesn't get muddy when we do this. Now, what you do is just, again, brayer. All right, now this time we're not going to do what we did before, but this time the marks are going to come as a result of using something to make the marks. Now, I'm going to use the color shaper, but as I showed you before, I bought this in the dollar store. It's just a plain rubber spatula and can certainly be used to do the same thing. Or, just as a suggestion, you could use the bottom to draw lines into the paint. And of course, the thicker the lines, the more of a chance you are going to have of seeing it. But try. So now I'm going to just simply make marks. Make marks in my paint. You can make any kind of marks that you wish. And then we are going to print. See what we end up with. All right. And again, this is the background paper. Remember that. But it is another way of making and varying the marks on our papers. So our papers don't all look alike. We want them to look different. And hopefully we can make them so that they will be exciting. Okay, and we're going to pull that. Let's see if you see that. It's very pretty also. And there were a lot of spaces on this, but again, not to be concerned about the spaces. And of course the design did show up very well. Now, the third piece is going to be simply an overall design, and you can just play and have a lot of fun with this. I'm going to add more paint again. I'm going to add more of the line on this. This is an overall, so you know you really can enjoy, what am I going to do with this? Here's a little more purple, a tad more purple, a couple of drops, and a little more. I think I still will even add more turquoise. All right. Now these papers also, eventually, you can highlight them with gold paint, which you can do in the end or even during the process if you want to lay down a little gold. Being this is an overall paper, I will try that. I will try it. Okay, and I don't know if it'll show up, but we'll see. Not too much. Okay, so now you have this, And now I say, oh, what do we want to do with this? I don't know. We don't want to, you know, this is just markings. We don't know what we're going to do with this. We don't know what's going to happen with this. All right? It's just an overall design that you're putting down on your Plexi. And we are going to print again and see what happens. So now you have 3 different ways of making marks on your paper. And each paper, even though you have only 3 right here, 3 processes, they're just going to all look, you know, different depending on the colors, the color you use, how much turquoise, how much green, how much paint, and so on and so forth. All right, so just press it down. And again, I say for this process, use a little more paint. When we did the first session and we painted our papers solid, it didn't matter if we had, for the second part of that process, if we had less paint on the Plexi, because we already had a beautiful black background, a solid or solid turquoise background. But in this case, we don't. So we really want the background to have a nice amount of paint. All right, so there you go. Now that's an overall design. I'm sure you can see that too. That's quite pretty. All right, so that's basically it for the first part of how to do these papers. And I will clean this off for the second process, and then I will be back. Okay, I'm back again after cleaning off my Plexi. And we have our 3 pieces of paper to work on top of, plaid, drawing into the paint, and an overall design. And this one has a little gold in it. All right, so we're going to start by laying down paint on the Plexi. Now, in order to determine what to use, sometimes it's a good idea to just check out your paper and just see, well, what colors would you like to see on here, and what stencil might you appreciate using on it. I was thinking about it while I was gone, so I think I'm going to use what I have here, right here in front of you. How we begin is simply to think in terms of colors. We can either pick one dominant color and use it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to use some metallic this time, actually, to do my stencil. And I think what I'm going to do is use several different shades and see how that picks up on the stencil when I'm finished. Now, I'm going to use this. It's a green metallic. And I am going to use a little bit of gold. Let's see what happens with that. And spread it out. All right, so I'm going to Brayer some of that color off there so that I get a little more of the green gold in there. And I am Brayering it off on a piece of blotting paper. So I just cover the Plexi to try to reach every area of the paper to the best of my ability. And now I'm going to just take the mask, put it down, and turn my paper over on top of the mask. Simple as that. And we're going to pull and we're going to see whatever surprise we're going to get here. I don't know. Well, it's pretty nice. We've got a little gold in there. See the gold, and you see the turquoise metallic in there as well. So that's beautiful. I like that a lot. So I'm going to hang it to dry. And now I'm going to think about this second paper. All right, so the next one we're going to do is this one. And looking at this, I think I am going to use again this metallic. And we don't know what else it's going to pick up in the scheme of things based on what we have down here. And I do have this time a little of the lavender, which I thought was very pretty, and it would complement the paper. So I'm going to lay a little bit of that down. In addition, I'm going to add a little of this green in here. It's not metallic, but it's already in the paper, so I'm going to go for that on my Plexi. Not worrying about too much if I mix some of the colors, but I don't want to. See, now there, I mixed it a little bit. I'm okay with that, but I don't want to do too much more of it. I am going to Brayer it out on my wax paper, on my blotting paper, and then just go over it like that. I want to make it muddy. I like that feeling that's there, and I will use the circles. Let me put this down this way because I had some wet paint on the other side. Now I will just again add the paper and just go over it. And you know, while I'm speaking to you, while I'm doing this, I like to say that we're going to take a break on the next video, and I am going to show you how to use these papers. I really think it's important to do that. All right, so now we have some circles. I don't know if you can see. Yes, you can see. We have some circles here. And we have actually, that's a defined shape, but here we have a little bit of the metallics. And on this side of the paper, we didn't get too much. So I can actually lay this down again if I want to. It's not really necessary, but you can pick up some of the wet paint on the other side. And even if I were to press into this side and get an image on top of an image, I really don't care. All right, so now you can see that we have some more of the green on that side, and I think that's quite pretty too. Now, the last one that I'm going to do, to me, I see as more of a challenge. It's just the overall print, and it's really, there's nothing much to speak of here, although, you know, you can do so many things with it as you continue to do your artwork. I mean, if I was doing something today, I could take it aside and do some really heavy stamping on it. But for the time being, I'm looking at it, and I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to put some black down here onto my Plexi. And this time around, I'm going to use the store-bought stencil. I just want to show you that, you know, certainly you can use it. And I think what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to try, I mean, I don't know how this is going to be, but I kind of would like to use some white on here. But I don't want to blend the black with the white too much. It'll get muddy, so I have to be kind of careful with that. Let me try and see what happens as I brayer this out as I brayer this out, and I'll do the white side first because it won't get the paint into the black side. And some of the yellow is getting in there, which is fine. Again, I'm rolling off some of the paint so that, let's see what happens with this black here. Okay, let's see what happens. That's what we have to do. We have to say, I wonder what's going to happen to this. What is going to happen with this? Now, what I would like to do with this is just place two store-bought stencils. It's not even one stencil because I like to cover. I want to use this stencil, which you can do, and that's why I wanted to show you this, because you can use two different stencils on the same, you can even use three. I could have moved it up and then used three. So now we have that in place. Now I can't imagine what this is going to look like I can't even imagine, no. So let's place it down, and we're going to press into the stencil like we did before. We got white on one side, black on the other, and we are going to pull and check it out. Okay, so here we have a paper that has two different colors, and the black actually, not too much of it came out. So how I'm feeling at this particular moment, I like this paper, but I think I would really like to go over this area again with black and reprint it. So you see, you can make that decision. You can make that decision to do that. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to put that down. And in fact, I think I'm going to do it with the other one as well. I'm going to go underneath here with this. And I am going to add more black paint here. Okay. And again, that's where experimenting comes in. And the most beautiful papers, I think, sometimes come as a result of taking chances. All right, so now we're just going to put that in there. And we're going to add this again. Put this where this rickrack design was before. And just there. Let's see what happens. I don't know, let's see. Chances can be fun and quite challenging. So let's try that. Yeah, see? Okay, we got a better rendition there. And I like that very much. And actually, I have a piece that I did that was kind of similar that I kind of put some gold in. So maybe I'll just show you that. I like this. This came out very nice. But this one here also has one of my masks on here. So I thought I would show you that. Well, that's really about it for the time being. I hope you enjoyed the demo. If you like what I'm doing and you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. And leave any comments or questions. Please feel free to ask anything that you would like. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing you again for the next video.